Good. So today actually we will start again with some of the mapping part of cache memory. And on the last day we discussed that why this type of mapping is required, right? And what we observed that our cache memory is very less amount of size, and this cache memory will hold the data from the main memory itself, and memory is a large amount of memory. So it is quite obvious that you may need to hold some of the data, you may need to release some of the data, you may need to remove some of the data. There might be some of the process based on which you can properly map those data, that those are actually required, those are actually not required. So all of these things are coming with this cache handling part. And with regard of that thing, there are several types of mapping technique available, like associative mapping, like direct mapping, like set associative mapping, all of this. So we started with associative mapping on the last day, and we discussed that whenever you will think that you are trying to, what I can say, you are trying to uh, store. I would like to use this word. You would like to store any data into the cache memory. So you can store according to your availability. Okay, so that was the associative mapping part. And the advantage of the associative mapping part was that yes, as you don't need to think any other part, or you don't need to calculate anything, you don't need to manage any other computational complexity part. So you can simply find that what the blank space is available, and you can just enter the data, right? So this was one advantage. Then so it is flexible actually, you can put anywhere and the data available. But the problem is that you have stored the data. Now whenever you need to access that data, you don't need to proper location, or you cannot apply any specific logic to handle this data. You cannot apply any specific mapping technique to access this data. That means you have to manually search throughout the storage, all the available storage, right? So based on this, you have to take decision, right? So that is why associative mapping is not so much fast, and it is a point of some slow access. Okay, so that was the point of associative mapping, advantage and disadvantage. And to remove this kind of problem, we started with direct mapping. And we saw that in case of direct mapping, it was divided into two sections. One was tag, another was index, right? So which was tag, which was index, that thing was little bit of complex, or we can study it again. So I am just giving you again the same example. I know that most of you know this thing, but again I'm just repeating. Okay, so what was that logic? That say if your cache has say in your cache it has 512 number of location. So that means how many address lines will be there in your cache? It is 9, right? So you can write 9 address line. And in your primary memory, say it is 32K. What the example has been given, I am going with the same example. Okay, 32K number of location. So that means how many number of address lines will be there? It is actually 2 to the power 5 into 2 to the power 10. So basically 2 to the power 15. So that means 15 address line. So now this 9 address line you have to map actually, because they are the cache location. So now when you will use this tag and index part, if you represent this with K, and if you represent it with N, then this K will represent your index part. Okay, and this is the whole memory length of your primary memory. So that means what will be your tag size? Your tag size will be N minus K. Okay, so that means if we use the same configuration, what the example we have taken, 9 address line, 15 address line. And if we just try to divide it into tag and index part, the main memory address lines or address bits, how many index part we will take? The index number will be in this case 9 and the tag number will be in this case 6, right? So some of the considerations are there, like your index is always static, that you cannot change the index, right? So what the index you have taken once, those index will remain fixed. You cannot change the index part, but your tag is dynamic, right? So that means what can be actually happened? Say this is your field, this is your tag part, this is your index part, right? So now if as earlier day we mentioned this thing also, that now onwards we will mention everything in octal format, right? So that means this 6 will be represented using 2 octal bit and this 9 will be represented in 3 octal bits. So that means this index 000 will be 000 always. It will be not changed. You can change the tag part. You can change the tag part with 00. You can take the tag part with 01, 02, 03, whatever may be. Right. So that means corresponding data will be mapped here or corresponding data will be stored here. So this same example has been shown with this type of diagram, this diagram. Okay, so it was the part of your cache memory. You can see cache memory has been written and this was the section of main memory. Right, so you observe that in our index part, if your index is matched with this part, either this part or this part or this part, next you will check your tag. So whatever tag field is there, the same data you will copy here. Right, so this was actually faster than associative because you know one proper logic. Someone is asking, someone is searching for you in Bennett, and he or she don't know that whether you are in theory class or you in lab class, right? Or maybe he has first mapped that yes, you are right now doing the microprocessor class, but he don't know that whether you are continuing the microprocessor theory or microprocessor lab. So if he know that yes, you are from this batch and you are doing the lab right now, so it will be easier to identify you because he can directly go to that particular lab and he can search you. Right. So this is actually the example of direct mapping. Direct mapping is faster. Right. So what the advantage has been written, that as it avoids searching through all the cache memory tag, it will not search throughout all the tags. It will search only the tag, the related tag actually. So that is a disadvantage as well, as because on the last day I told that if right now you are trying to enter the data whose memory location is 02000 into this location, just like say this data. Say this, there are lots of locations are available, but you cannot store this data into these locations because your index is matched only in this place. So you have to replace the tag 00 with 02 and then only you can be able to insert this data 5670 here. So irrespective of the situation, that whether you have vacant room or not, you cannot be allowed to store there any data, right? Or you cannot be allowed to use that data, use that storage. So you have to just replace the existing data and again you have to come on that particular section and you can access those data. Okay, so this is the common thing actually, you can say. That means this is the disadvantage actually, that it needs regular replacement once it has been updated with tag 02. Then again it may be needed to need to access the data with 01000. So then again it has to update the 02 with 01. So all of this thing will be continued so and so much time. That is the problem, you can say. Okay, of this direct mapping technique. So now how you can replace this problem also, right? So to do this thing, actually some set associative mapping concept has been introduced. So what has been done in this case? So I have just minimized my small lecture window. Okay, if suddenly I disconnected due to system problem, anyone please put me a message in WhatsApp. Okay, that's sorry, you are disconnected. Please log in again. Okay, now we are just about to start the discussion of set associative mapping. In case of set associative, you can see that some sets has been created where more than one tag you can utilize for one single index. Right. So what the example has been given here, think about it, that for only one index and one index number, that for only one index, there are two tags. So that means this two tag is actually creating one set, right? So now if your index is matched 0, 0, 0, you will simply check whether your tag field is available or not. So 0, 1 matched 0, 1, you will put this data here. You will put this data here. So now it is quite obvious that how much longer set size you will use or how much bigger set size you will use, that much kind of efficient set associative memory mapping technique will be available, right? So this is quite obvious because you can see that more than one tag is being mapped with the same index, right? This thing is also applicable for the other index address. So this way you can just manage your most of the tag index problem. Now one problem you can say that yes, if it is a two set associative mapping, just like the example has been given, then if you are getting the data which is not included in this tag like 01 or 02, then what you will do? Yes, you have to do again the replacement problem. You have to again replace any one tag. You have to again include that particular data. Okay, so that means this is not completely foolproof. So no method is completely foolproof. Every time we will face some problem and we will try to minimize this problem, right? Because human being only can try to minimize the problems in front of us or around us. We cannot stop all the problem regarding which has happened in front around us, right? So that is the thing. So set associative mapping is the process where you can use some tag and index part with a set. So there may be more than one number of set, more than two number of set, whatever may be. Anyway, set associative you can say. Okay, so now we will read that what has been written here. This is a trade-off between associative and direct mapping, where each address is mapped to a certain set of cache locations. The cache is broken into sets where each set contains n cache lines, let's say 4. Then each memory address is assigned to a set. 4 locations within the set it is assigned to. In other words, within the each set, cache is associative, thus the name, right? So the problem is that say in particular one section you may have multiple cache lines, so quite obvious it is, right? So now your tag has been mapped, your index has been mapped, so now you are ready to insert the data. So now more than one location is available, so you can put you can put the data into any one of the lines, any one of the cache lines. So that means again we are using the concept of associative. And previously we are using the set of tag and index, that is why it is set. That is why the whole process is being termed as set associative mapping. Okay. So now gradually we will move further, just like say we can check like difference between lines, set and blocks. So here in direct mapped cache sets and lines are equivalent. However, in associative mapping cache sets and lines are very different things. And the terms cannot be interchanged. Why this thing has been written that in case of direct mapping cache sets and lines are equivalent? Because in this case actually you are not creating any separate sets. In direct mapping technique there is no sets actually available, if you think, only lines. So that is why if any problem you found that direct mapping problem has been given and you are being asked the question regarding the set, right? This thing also can be given. So that is actually equivalent to line. So don't confuse, right? If any problem regarding to cache direct mapping has been given and you are being asked to identify based on some data the number of sets, you have to actually find the number of lines. Understood? And the associative mapping technique or set associative mapping technique, those all the other things are different. So you have to check what kind of mapping you are using. That is one very important point. Okay, so every problem in case of midterm also I have observed that some student was calculating the 2's complement of -4 +4. So this type of confusion they have created. So once you are being asked that identify the 2's complement of -4, so what you will do? You will simply start with 4, right? You will simply start with 4. So 4 means it is 0, 1, 0, 0. Now ones complement, we will take the ones complement. I have given the 4-bit number. I have given the 4-bit number. So that means if you take the ones complement of this whole data, what you will do? You will simply write 1, 0, 1, 1. Now you will add 1. What will be there? I have not checked yet that whether I have given the proper option or not. So if this data is not there, then there will be problem and I will give the marks. Okay, but just take it from a simple manner or read whatever thing I have given. Okay, so sometime actually you just missed properly. You just missed lightly, maybe in a hurry or in some other problem. It is not actually your fault. So what can be done? That is the point actually. So next, when you will read this block, line and set, what you will read? That block, what is a block? A fixed size packet of information that moves back and forth between a cache and main memory. So that means when you are actually trying to access some data from the main memory or your processor register is asking for data in cache memory don't have this data. So it is asking the data from the main memory. So main memory is providing those data, right? So main memory is providing the data as well as main memory is keeping one copy of the same data into cache memory, right? So those data transfer from main memory to CPU or main memory to cache memory, all this data transfer is being done in a block format, right? Next one is line. So container in a cache that store a block as well as other information such as the valid bit and tag bit. So that means in a line, whenever you will do this cache memory numericals, you will find that in a line there are several informations, right? There may be your cache data, that how many long data you are using. There may be the tag, there may be the index part, valid bit, dirty bit. So every other thing may be there. Okay, so again, I will suggest that I will upload numerical problems, no problem, that is fine, because once I will complete this cache memory, I will upload the numerical problems. Now you can also try them. I have uploaded the book, Maurice Mano, soft copy. So if you go to the chapter, I think it is chapter 12, if I am not wrong, memory organization chapter. And if you go to the numerical examples of the exercise part, you will get lots of numerical problems. You can search, you can also have the solution that is also available in internet. Solution of Maurice Mano actually, 3rd edition. So you will get throughout all the options of solutions, all the things, and you can easily solve them. It is quite easy. Okay. So next, when we will go further after block, then it is just like line. Block and line we have discussed. Next one is set. So what is a set? The set is collection of one or more lines, right? So that means think about the diagram when cache memory diagram has been shown, like this kind of cache lines were being shown at that time, right? Each and every one is a line. So all of these lines will form one set. Okay. So that is actually the whole thing. Now, yes, I'm still connected. I just checked whether I'm disconnected or not. Okay. So block, line, and set, and then we are going to the part which one is associativity. So it is not a different thing or not any big type of point. Just in case of set associative mapping, what we observed? We observed that there may be some number of sets. The example we discussed, that was two sets were there, right? And we also discussed that more number of set it will include. So it will be the data coverage will be more, cache memory mapping technique will be covered, more data. So all these things will have been discussed, right? So that means that associativity is that point of view actually. So in a set associative cache memory means that memory information stored at some address in operating system could be placed in n locations, right? So it was previously 2 locations. So now in case of 2, it may be n locations. The basic principle of logical segmentation says that there is only one line within any particular segment, and to be capable of caching information located at some memory address. So these are not so much important theories. You can just read them. Okay, now this is very much important part, that is a replacement algorithm. This is very much important part. You can expect some small theoretical questions from this section. And please, again, I will request you all that please read all the instructions carefully. Then you can just raise your question. Okay, that what the problem is there or why this is not here. Just like one example I can give you. Everyone almost has done this thing wrong. Whoever sent me the queries, that I asked about the relative addressing, effective memory address when you are using the relative addressing. So PC relative addressing means you will add index or offset, that is perfectly fine, no problem. But with whom you will add? You will add it with the content of program counter, right? And once you are accessing the instruction from the location 301, you are accessing the instruction from the location 301. That means your program counter will hold the next instruction address. It is the common thing. Several times I have told. So that means next instruction address is the next one, next address location. After 301 it is 302. That is why it is 400 plus 302. Most of you has missed it. And they are doing this 400 plus 301. As initial content of program counter was 301. But no, when any instruction will be started, program counter will be automatically updated with the next instruction. So that means at that time, program counter content is 302. So you will add 400 plus 302, your answer is 702. That is okay. So now here again also some replacement algorithm you will read. And what is this replacement algorithm actually? We can say that whenever you are using one cache, whole cache memory or any other thing like this, you are actually using a short memory storage, not very much big memory storage, short memory storage. That means you have to continuously, what I can say, receive some data continuously, update some data continuously, modify some data. So all these things is there because the cache memory storage is very much less. So that means there are some process based on which you have to update the data. Now the point is, which of the data you will update? You don't know, right? One point you can think that yes, this data is no longer is being used, so I can update this data. Right? During lots of days I have not used this data, so I can update this data. But who can say that the next day you will need this data again? We can predict only, right? We cannot take any fixed decision like thing. So based on all these things, different type of replacement algorithm is there. Some of them is optimal, random, least recently used. So different kinds of replacement algorithm will become gradually one by one. So let me read one by one and let me discuss it. So first one is optimal replacement, right? So what is being said at this not optical, it is optimal. Optimal replacement. So replace the block which is no longer required in the future. So that means you know that you have filled one form and that particular exam you have given and result also out. So you don't need to access that particular data or that particular website anymore, right? So in the location where this particular data is being stored, that location can be freed because that particular website you will not access. So that particular password you will not give again, right? So that means replace the block. That means that particular block you can replace, which is no longer needed in future, right? So if all blocks certainly in cache memory will be used again, replace the one which will not be used in future for the longest time. For the longest time. So that means you can think that what I can say, say all of the data are there and you are trying to replace it one by one, like this thing is being happened. You have defined that this particular data I will not use for coming 3 years. So that means you can replace this data. For example, only I have said. Okay, then random selection. Random selection is any other process. There is no particular process or no particular algorithm will be there. You can randomly select any block and you can replace it. Okay, that is random selection. Some other process is also there, FIFO. So in data structure, I think already you are well familiar with this term. So that means you will replace the block that has been in cache memory for the longest time. So some confusion will come very soon. Okay, just think. In the FIFO replacement algorithm, you are saying that replace the block that has been in cache memory for the longest time. LRU, that means least recently used, replace the block in cache memory that has not been used for the longest time, right? So in FIFO, it was the block which is in cache memory for the longest time. In LRU, it is being written that the block which is not been used for the longest time. Another one almost equivalent is it is least frequently used. That is the replace the block in cache memory that has been used for a least number of times. So these three is very much confusing, and we usually target these three to give multiple choice question in exam. So if problem you have that you are not able to get it properly, you can also clear it now. So again, forget about the slide. Just think what is being happened in these three cases, right? Again, we can get some example. We can take some example. Think that whenever you admitted in university, your admission was completed in university, you were assigned a room, right? You were assigned a room. Now 3 years or 4 years maybe time you can think about. After 3 years or 4 years, some rotation policy will come, just like room change type of thing. So you have been assigned a room before 3 years. Maybe I can use the name Madhavik. So Madhavik has been assigned one room before 3 years. Ans has been assigned one room before 2.5 years, and Samir has been assigned one room before 2 years. So now the policy is we will change the room or we will update the room which is most older. That means whose room has been assigned first. So whose room will be updated? It is Madhavik's rooms will be updated or will be changed, whatever may be. So this was the example of FIFO. Now we are taking the example of LRU, least recently used. Least recently used. That means that room has not been used for a longer time. For a longer time. So that means think about that before 3 years, before 2.5 years, before 2 years, you have been assigned all the rooms. Now, who has been assigned room before 3 years? He is in his room regularly. He don't leave his room and he is in his room regularly during last 3 years. But Samir, whose room has been assigned before 2 years, he has not been used, or he has not stayed in that particular room for a single day during last 2 years. Ans has also used his room quite efficiently. So Samir has not used his room at all. So that means if you think that which room has not been used for a longer amount of time, who will come in point? Samir will come in point. So that means Samir's room will be changed in reference to that logic. Madhavik is using his room regular basis. Samir is not using his room at all. And Ans is also using quite efficiently, but less than Madhavik, but greater than Samir. That means whose room is least amount of using? It is Samir's room. So that means Samir's room will be updated. Then another example is LFU, least frequently used. Least frequently used, right? So now think that before 3 years, before 2.5 years, or before 2 years, every room has been assigned, but particular days is being counted, or frequency is being counted, that during your stay, how many days you have used your room. How many days? That means your frequency is being counted, right? So that means that particular student who has used his room less frequent amount of time. Say for example, Madhavik has used his room during last 3 years 100 times. Ans has used 25 times and Samir has used 75 times. So whatever may be the duration of stay, if you count the frequency is less for Ans. That means his room can be updated. So that is the three things, and these three things are very much related and very much confusing. So if don't understand, read them again, take some example in your mind, relate it, and then you can easily understood the thing. Okay, and now the point is that which one is best? We have found some number of examples. We have found that optimal replacement. We have found the random selection. We have found LRU. We have found the FIFO. We have found LFU. Different processes are there. But which one is the best? But the problem is, it is very difficult to identify the best one. Because if you think about optimal, what the example I gave you, that if you think about optimal, that you are saying that no, in future, what the data is coming, that data will not be used so much. How you can predict in today's date that what is being used on the next day, or how much amount of thing will be used on the coming days? It is not possible now. So that is why a block till the date which is not being used, you are not sure that in future that particular data again will not be used. That is why you cannot say that optimal replacement is best. Same time like LRU, least recently used. That means you are saying that yes, he is not using this data during last so many days. But who cannot say that from tomorrow onwards you will use it? Right? So again, some problem is there. Right? And what is the logic behind it? That it is being said that LRU is suboptimal based on the temporal locality of reference. So temporal locality of reference means we read this thing that once you have used some data and you are predicting that this data will be used more and more time in near future, like this. So based on this, you are saying that yes, it has not been used so much time. So in future also it will not be used so much time. But it is not actually true. May not be true. Right? That is the thing has been mentioned here, that memory items that are recently referenced are more likely to be referenced soon than those which has not been referenced for a longer time. So that means LRU is suboptimal based on this temporal locality of reference. Suboptimal, you can say. right? So FIFO is not necessarily consistent with LRU, therefore is usually not as good. Surprisingly, the random selection is not necessarily bad always, because if you don't able to identify any proper algorithm to find the optimal cache replacement policy, then why we will use algorithm at all? We will randomly select the data, right? Our computational complexity will be less. That is the point. Okay. The next thing is hit ratio and effective access time. So that is one important point, and you will get different types of numerical problems regarding this. Okay. So hit ratio is also, we have discussed that you are identifying or you are searching from data in cache. So if you got this data in your cache, that means it is a cache hit. If you don't got this data in your cache, that means it is a cache miss. So that means number of times referenced words are in cache. That means number of hit simply by total number of memory access. That means number of hit plus miss. Right? So you will simply calculate hit ratio as total times reference words are in cache. That means number of hits divided by total number of memory references. That is a hit ratio. And effective access time, as it is time, right? So that means hit and miss will be coming with some time duration. So that means number of hits multiplied by number of duration of time per hit. Same again, number of miss multiplied by times per miss. So that means both things will be added and divided by total number of memory access. That is the effective access time. Got it? So this is the hit ratio and effective access time. Now some other part also that is very much related to our cache memory, that is the load through, store through. So these all are coming as some theories. So those are also very much important theories. You can expect some new, what I can say, one marks question or 0.5 marks question from here also. Okay. So load through, store through. So that means when the CPU need to read a word from the memory, the block containing the word is brought from main memory to cache memory. At the same time, word is forwarded to CPU. So that means you are reading. So that is the older point when we just read the part instruction set architecture. At the time also we saw that if you are trying to load, you are basically reading. And when you are trying to store, you are basically writing, because you are loading data from memory to CPU. CPU will process, operation will be done there, but what is being done by the memory? What is being done by the what I can say? What is being done memory? What is being done in between time? It is actually data is being loaded from main memory to cache memory. So data is being read. Data is being read, right? Just like in your MIPS programming you are doing, and you are trying to store and you are trying to load. So whenever some data you are taking from user at user input at runtime, that means you are writing this data into memory, right? And if you need to access some data, say kind of example, you can think about array. You are trying to access the array address, initial address, from which command we usually start? LW. So load word, say we usually start from load word, right? So LW followed by some other register or whatever may be there, but we always start from LW, that means load word. So that is the load through related thing. That means your CPU needs to read a word from the memory, and the block containing the word is brought from main memory to cache memory. Okay, and at the same time the word is forwarded to CPU. So if you now think about store through, if the store through is used, a word to be stored from CPU to memory, that means data has been processed, right? You have been processed the data, you have been given the instruction li v05. That means now your system is ready to take this data from the user. That means once you are giving this input, this input is being written into the memory directly, right? Now the point is where it is being written. So it is being written into cache memory as well as main memory. Okay. So these are the example of load through and store through. So maybe this kind of thing you may get that whenever, say, this type of diagram has been given. Okay, now you are being given the same word like load through and store through. You are just being supposed to mark that whether in case of load through you are reading or writing. Right? You are reading or writing. So you can see from main memory, the data is coming. From main memory, the data is coming to cache memory and CPU. So basically from main memory, you are loading into CPU. That means from main memory, you are reading. So use your sense, use your own thinking. Don't go with the website, what has been written in any website or what has been given in any platform or any portal. Use your own merit. You are superior person to judge than what has been written in website. From main memory to CPU. That means you are reading from main memory. You are giving this data to CPU for processing. Now data has been processed. You have your output in your hand. So what we will do in this with this data? You will store this data. You will write this data into memory. You will store this data into memory. That means you are actually trying to save this data, right? So that is actually write operation. Okay, so those are two examples. You may be confused. That is why I have repeated. So some other write method, read method example has been given. Okay, so you can just read this part. There is no other extra thing actually. What the thing we are discussing, the same thing has been given, that whenever you are writing, you will not only write either cache memory or either main memory, you are actually trying to write into both. Okay, then write through, write back, copy back. These are also the same thing. Write allocate, no write allocate, and some example has been given. Okay, cache read, cache write. So up to this, when we cover, we can say that yes, your cache memory part is done. So next day, that means tomorrow, no, tomorrow is not your class. So that means after Diwali, when we will start with pipeline. Okay. And in between time, I will upload some set of problems where you will find problem from memory, cache memory, pipeline also, along with answers will be there. So I will request you to practice them. Okay, and practice also the book Morris Mano exercise. Okay, so I will stop here.